Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again, and for the past few days I've been playing with the new Tornado. I kinda wasn't expecting this thing to be too special or anything too crazy, but it is definitely one of the surprise skills for me that came out swinging. It feels really good, and I am very much surprised as to how much I enjoyed messing with this thing and playing this build thus far. So the new Tornado is, as you can see with the Sharknado MTX, kind of an absolute fucking mess. So there is that. But the new Tornado is basically a transfigured version that lets you have 3 tornadoes out at a time. They end up being kind of like Vile Blade Vortex, very similar mechanically, and the build itself ends up being kind of like a brand playstyle throwing out Vile Blade Vortexes. You can have 3 tornadoes. They do 100% of their fizz converted to a random element, which you can specifically choose if you really want to, with combat focus duels, and then just have a specific element. But we've leaned into the triple sort of thing here and doing all 3, some random, some, plenty of fizzes extra, that sort of thing. And it doesn't really scale off cast speed. It's got a set tick rate. So ideally you're not scaling too much cast speed, and you are just getting your 3 tornadoes out there. And it also has a base duration of 4 seconds, so you can increase the duration a lot too if you really want, and then have them last a bit longer. But I'm just running around spamming the tornadoes. And this is what it looks like without the MTX. It's a little bit cleaner. Of course, you can have Herald MTXs, and then that can make its own mess as well. So the angle I went with for this build is to kind of get a bit of quality, because quality does help make it move faster. So from the previous version I'd seen of other people, they kind of didn't look like they were moving too fast. The build didn't look that exciting to me, so that's why I wasn't really sold on Tornado. But with some quality scaling, you can make them move a lot faster. Levels make them move faster too. So in the end, mine actually moved pretty decently fast, and it feels like a fairly cracked build. In the end, so far, I think I've got about 20 million DPS maybe, with just Elementalist, a few golems for buffs. I'm running a Crest of Desire, which is I think the second time I'm ever using it. It gives you +8 gem levels, and then spells deal double damage, and then on top of that, 40 quality. So that means that I just have a 1 link, and then a 6 link for my golems, and yeah, it's working out pretty well. Of course, part of why it's working out pretty well is because of the classic Ralakesh combo on this build. It's not gone all the way, but it is pretty far, because I am using Ralakesh, Badgered Brotherhood, and then Inner Conviction from Timeless Jewels. I don't have a Maven belt of any sort, so no triple damage, because, well, I'm running the double damage from Crest of Desire. Double and triple damage cannot coexist. So yeah, not full-blown cheese, but still pretty cheese. These boots, Ralakesh boots, currently 40C or something, are still absolutely ridiculous and can carry some builds. But I think Tornado by itself has some pretty respectable damage, playstyle, and legs of its own. Doesn't have to be, brute forced with particularly strong gear. And we have seen some examples of Tornado doing all kinds of other things, so it doesn't have to be built the way I build it by any means. People have done single element versions, they've done poison, and it does look like it can be a pretty versatile skill. So thus far I've taken the build up to 94 and a bit maybe. Bunch of tier 16s, bunch of guardians. Pretty damn good for clear speed overall, because I am scaling a decent amount of area and movement speed, so thusly the tornadoes are just destroying everything in their path, and then the heralds help with the clear as well. The single target so far ends up being, like I said, kind of like a brand playstyle, which means it should be a pretty strong boss killer. Throw out a couple of tornadoes, well, up to 3, and then run around for a few seconds. Granted, my current duration is only 4 seconds, so I do have to keep reapplying tornadoes. Otherwise, yeah, not going to be doing much damage. So currently I'm built into a way where you do have to reapply your skill a bit more often, but if you got more duration, it could be much more of a brand playstyle if you really feel that way. So then this is just one tier 17 I tried already, because the character is still pretty fresh, but it's been just speed running, speed leveling, and yeah, getting figured out. I've already tried one tier 17 here, and then just a couple of random small bosses, Maven, yeah, and Shaper. And yeah, for the tier 17s, it should be pretty good, because the layouts kind of lend themselves to getting destroyed by a tornado going through corridors and stuff. But then, of course, the map mods for tier 17s are going to dig us down, and it's not going to feel very good. And I have built the character to be somewhat squish, because I don't need to get hit, and I don't yeah, really worry too much about this sort of stuff when I'm freezing everything, and more of a ranged character. So even though, let's say, compared to the previous character, I've got like a fifth of the defense or so, I die a fifth of the time, which is just silly, because yep, once again, we are proving in the game that the best defense is a good offense, and yeah, it's just how it is. So I'd much rather play something like this than something that's pretty damn defensive and gets things done. Although, of course, with some meta stuff and some good builds, you can have good defense and good offense, no doubt about it. All the same, yeah, we've got some life, we've got some, you know, tankiness here or there, especially with the golems, which I'll go over in just a sec. But for the most part, just going to be sitting back, destroying things, and having a good time being kind of a ranged character with some freeze, with some good damage, and zero visual clarity, which is kind of an issue if you don't know all the boss fights by heart, because yeah, you will end up kind of not seeing fucking shit. So the MTX is a bit of a risky play. With all that said, let me go ahead and show you how I built this tornado character thus far. So here we go. We've got a level 94 Elementalis wire, one socket, hat, Mathel. Obviously, yep, get some pretty good questions coming in all the time. And one socket hat. Why? Yeah, Crest Desire. It's a tough item to actually like justify in most builds, because more often than not, just a regular 6-link with some good stuff is gonna be better. And this isn't really any exception, I don't think. So first of all, let me say that basically the build is almost all unique, so it should be kind of easy to copy, but then also kind of not, depending on what exactly you want to do. So it's almost entirely unique, and it's just the gloves that are rare. Could have actually made the whole thing unique, but fuck it, you know, we do want some kind of memes on gloves. But as I was saying, yeah, Crested Desire, plus 8 gem levels, it's up to 50 quality, and then sockets deal double damage. So you have to really want to take advantage of the quality for the most part, and the gem level scaling, but it's mostly the quality that has to be pretty damn compelling for you to want to do it. And in this case, I think it helps like give us some good quality of life on the tornado speed. For the most part, after like trying this thing out, I don't think we need that much speed, because most of the time tornadoes are just going to like get stuck and kill stuff, instead of just, you know, like moving through everything super fast. If you have like infinite damage and infinite speed, then it's probably going to be very, very crazy. So I don't know. It's okay for the quality, but all that said, if you actually just chuck this setup onto like a 6-link, instead of, you know, my golems here, if you had a good 6-link, maybe with a +2, and you know, corrupted something else, whatever, it's similar damage. A 6-link gives us similar damage right now, because with this scaling, we've got some pretty good support gems like Power Charge on crit. You know, you can have Conk Effect, you can have Energy Leech, you can have Inspiration, Empower. All this sort of stuff actually ends up being like, you're pretty similar to a 6-link. So you don't have to do a Crested Desire. I'm forcing it into this build, and I actually envision the largest version of a build like this to have 2 different setups with Penance Brand at the same time, because especially once you like chuck out 3 tornadoes, or if you chuck out 2 Penance Brands on an enemy, you can then have time to chuck out tornadoes as well, and it scales in a similar fashion damage-wise. So both Penance Brand and tornado into one build, dual 6-linked or like a hybrid 5-link sort of thing, would be crazy damage. So yeah, there's Tornado. That's what it is. This is the sort of setup I've chosen to go for to utilize it. And it's a bit of a hipster setup with Crested Desire. But the rest of it's kind of basic, I'd say. Relicash, you know, Very powerful boot. Got its movement speed removed this league. Doesn't make it any weaker. You just need a, if you want to feel good about your character, have some movement speed. You then combo it with Badge of the Brotherhood so that all of your power charges that you're stacking also give you frenzies. We then have Void Battery for a power charge. We have Malachi's Loop for 2 power charges, and then stacking power charges on the tree. And you of course take Inner Conviction, so you more power charges do more spell damage. All of your frenzies are still applicable because it doesn't matter if you're gaining them or not, they're at maximum. We have the power charge shit up there. You take the Cannot Be Shocked node for the Malachi's Loop, and then I've also stolen the Occultist Forbidden Power. These were about 3 or 4 divines each, so it's the first time I've ever even contemplated stealing these because they're usually much more expensive, and that gives us +1 power charge and some area / damage as well. So it ends up being pretty good on the area and good for power charge scaling. Aside from that, fairly basic tree, I'd say. Some stuff. Usually when I do an Elementalist, I do lean heavily into the golem side of things, but this time around we've got a lot of scaling from Ralakesh and other things, so I haven't done much of the golem stuff. They're kind of just an accompaniment. Sure, they'll die sometimes, doesn't really matter, and I've only got 4 of them because they have made it pretty difficult to get a 5th, so I'm currently missing out on Chaos Golem, which is some fizz damage reduction. So you could, instead of any one of these pretty much, do a Chaos Golem to become thicker, but currently I don't think I need that. Maybe I will later, because crit isn't super powerful compared to like 15 to 20 PDR fizz damage reduction, so maybe I'll do that. We'll see. But the one new interesting golem I am using is Golem of Safeguarding. So golems grant 15% of melee damage taken from your stone golem's life before you. And what's interesting about this one is it actually shows you the buff up here, what it's doing. 67%. So instead, with all the buff effect, instead of the 15, golems grant a 67% of melee damage taken is going to the golem before you. And considering that they get resummoned when they die, that can be pretty damn strong, at least against melee hits, because, not everything out there is melee, of course, but it can be pretty damn strong. Since actually putting this one in only a few levels ago, haven't really noticed anything happening. Like, I haven't noticed the golems dying or me taking any less hits, so I don't know, maybe it's only for real specific content, but in theory, this should be pretty damn strong. So in the links there, we got the golems, meat, shield, and minion life support. Other than that, just golems that do some stuff. And then I've got a cluster over here that has, most importantly, just corrosive elements. That's how I'm going to apply my exposure to enemies for my Elementalist passive to work. I am stacking heralds, so I've got Empowered Envoy and Purposeful Harbinger here. A Balance of Terror that has 40 crit multi if we've cast Enfeeble and 40 fizz as random if we've cast Ellie Weakness. I bought a shitty one for 1 divine and then divined it once or twice I think, to get this roll. But it's up to how uncomfortable you want your playstyle to be here. So I have sometimes just going to be using Enfeeble just to have that 10 seconds up, but then I am self-cursing Ellie Weakness. That's the much more important one. You just want the Ellie Weakness there. So when you self-curse it, you get 40 damage random. I still have another dual socket that I can incorporate a Watcher's Iron. We can do things like Zealotry, Hatred crit can solve all our crit. I might do Vitality Life Gain on hit to solve some more sustain issues, etc. But there's a lot we can do with the passive tree. It's pretty flexible. I went Elementalist so I can have some area, some minus max, resists, and some just golems, which is kind of memes. I think an Inquisitor is probably a better choice overall, but you can do Inquisitors, you can do Spell Berserkers, you can do Elementalists, Occultists, fucking Scions, poison stuff with Pathfinders, Tricksters, Assassins, all this stuff. Pretty versatile stuff and pretty big skill. So yeah, given that I'm using an Atulus for some life, I have to use something else in the belt. So I went with the Darkness Enthroned with some crit multi, because I'm low on crit multi since, don't have an amulet, don't have gem link and stuff like that. So life over there, crit multi, life, and some chaos. Grabbed these crit multi fractures for 1 divine and then rolled them to do what I want them to do, which is some defense, so that I can Eldritch Battery a Zealotry more often. Does it even work at the moment? Yeah, we're all good. So you can only level it so much depending on your ES. For zealotry, we've got Divine Blessing, and then yeah, you press it every now and again for a nice little buff. We have Shield Charge, Assassin Mark that I'm self-casting, and faster attacks. I'm using 3 Heralds, so Herald of Purity, Herald of Ice, Herald of Ash, and yeah, using 2 Circle of Ambitions, one that I'm reusing from a previous build. The main goal is to just either get some Herald of Ash buff effect, some Herald of Purity buff effect, and some lower reservations. So the cold damage on this one, not particularly useful, but otherwise still pretty good. Also helps us with some stats. So this one has some reservation stuff, and then also buff effect. You know, they're going to be anywhere from like 1 divine to 100 divines, depending on what you want them to do. But keep it pretty flexible, and if you need, instead of something like this, you can just end up speccing an extra like 3 points on a cluster that just gives you reservation, 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 end up kind of like solving that problem as well, instead of doing these rings. But they seem to synergize pretty damn well with an Utula's. And that is possibly everything you need to know about this character for now. But yeah, Tornado, pretty damn cool skill. And a lot of different ways to build it. Don't have to copy mine. Don't have to do this one. Lots of different ones out there if you want to go check them out. I do think it's a good skill. I can recommend it. It was pretty surprisingly fun compared to what I thought it would be. And yeah, I would probably play it again in the future. But for now, still going to persevere a bit more, do a bit more into the end game and see how we feel with garbage 17s, maybe some Ubers. And yeah, then look forward to re-rolling another build, as always. So thank you very much for watching. See you guys next time.